Hi everyone, welcome to Maximum Attack Rallying. It is Thursday, so it's time to dive into a rallying rabbit hole. Short one today, there's a few things going on, so I don't have too much time to record. Apologies for that. All will become clear in the coming days. I'm sure I'll explain it at some point. Today, I was inspired to make this video because I was looking online and I saw some pictures of a unique rally car, and I thought, well, that's cool. And it got me thinking, what rally cars would I like to have seen built that never were? So I've come up with a bit of a list. Hopefully it will amuse you and inspire you to put into the comments your own choices. So let's not waste any time with me rabbiting on and get right into it. So at number one, it is the Proton Putra World Rally car. This one's for John Coupland. If you don't follow him, he's a Proton obsessive from the UK, so I'm sure he'll appreciate this. So back in the late 90s, when manufacturers were falling over themselves to join the WRC, we'd had a relaxation of the regulation, so you no longer had to build a four-wheel drive homologation road car in order to compete, and that inspired lots of manufacturers to join the championship. Proton were pretty well into rallying by this point. They'd already done a Group A/kit car version of the little Persona compact Satria type hatchback, and there had been Group N four-wheel drive cars based on the WRC/Persona, lots of different names depending on where you are in the world. They were basically rebadged Mitsubishi Evolutions. There was one competed in the UK in the British Championship. I can't remember the name of the driver now though, forgive me. That's going to trouble me. Maybe I'll add it in the comments if I remember. Anyway, Proton wanted to investigate moving up to the top category, as so many other manufacturers were, including Skoda and Seat and others. So they commissioned ProDrive to build some prototypes based on the two-door coupe version of the WRC/ Persona chassis. I think ProDrive were already involved in this kind of work because I have a feeling they did the transmissions for the Seat Cordoba World Rally car, so they were doing some engineering consultancy work at this point anyway, and they built two prototypes of this coupe World Rally car version of the Proton. I've forgotten the name, Putra already. So it's an interesting car, isn't it? Because if you look at it, if you see the pictures, which I'll try and put on the screen, I think what I find fascinating about this car is that it was a bit of a kind of a monster in a way. So they took the two-door Proton body and they applied bodywork which was a similar style to the Impreza World Rally cars of the time, but Protons of that era were actually based on Mitsubishis. So under the bonnet there was a Mitsubishi engine and obviously ProDrive's drivetrain. So what you actually ended up with was a bit of a hybrid, and I think that's quite interesting when you look at it in the context of the WRC at the time, because you had this massive rivalry between Subaru and Mitsubishi, and then you had this kind of hybrid car. It is a real shame, isn't it, that it never actually competed, because it would have been really interesting to see that, the two camps, and then this sort of melding of the two in the middle. One interesting little factoid based on the pictures I've seen, it actually used the older Mitsubishi Evo engine, so the one that was kind of the wrong way around, so the transmission, the gearbox was on the right side of the engine bay, a bit like older 90s Hondas, and not the later, better Evo engine from cars like Evo 5, 6, 7 onwards. Sadly, the car never got beyond the prototype stage. I've not actually found out why they discontinued the program and didn't go ahead with it. So the two cars were left and tucked away in Proton's collection, and that was that. So a bit of a shame. Obviously, we have seen Proton in rallying since then. Mellors Elliott Motorsport built Satria Super 2000, and we've more recently seen their Rally R5 Rally 2 car, but we never got to see Proton in the WRC at the top level, did we? So that was a shame, but a nice little piece of history and a wonderful what if. At number two is the car that inspired this video, and that is the Dacia Sandero R5 or Rally 2. Now, I saw some pictures earlier on, which I will share, of an R4 Rally 2 kit version of a Sandero built by ASM Motorsport in Barcelona. That was using that short-lived Orica kit, which had a spec engine and transmission that you could put into any body shell you wanted. And I saw some pictures of one in plain white this morning. It's been a long time since I've seen pictures of one, and I thought, wow, that looks really good. I like that a lot. And it just made me think, man, wouldn't it be cool if we'd seen a proper factory R5 version? And it would have been a nice way to kind of drag the Renault group into the upper levels of the sport, and that seems quite relevant, doesn't it? Because more recently we've ended up where we have a Rally 3, Rally 4, Rally 5 and Rally 6 version of the Clio. So to see a Rally 2 version of the Clio would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Or to see one based on the latest Sandero, which is on the same platform. You know, with the Dacia Rally Raid team shutting down especially, wouldn't it be exciting if they decided to funnel a bit more money into rallying and use Dacia as the brand to do that? I know that's a bit of a dream, isn't it? And it's probably not going to happen, but maybe if we speculate enough, they will do it. But yeah, I just saw this car. I thought it looked really cool. I know the Sandero has changed a lot since then, but I just thought, man, wouldn't it be nice to see that brand trying to elevate itself by competing in the WRC with an R5 or Rally 2 car. And another thing it made me think, as a random aside, even if we can't have that, I just thought, man, it would be really cool to reshell a Clio R3 Maxi into one of those Sanderos and use the body panels from that Rally 4, you know, R2 kit thing, and to have some kind of, you know, front-wheel drive monster Sandero with a, you know, I think the Clio Maxi R3 was 250 horsepower, front-wheel drive, sequential gearbox in a wide-arch Sandero. I'm definitely on board with that. Finally, then, number 3, my final choice, and that is the Golf R, specifically a Group N version. And the reason I say that is when the Golf R was launched in 2013, old-style Group N was effectively dead, wasn't it? Everyone had disappeared. I think JRM Group were building an N15-ish, N16 type Subaru by that point, weren't they? Based on the latest Saloon. But that was about it. And I think it's a real shame that Group N kind of died a death, because I think we miss it. I think we miss that kind of affordable, relevant four-wheel drive category, and I don't think we've ever really got a proper replacement, have we? I think there was a bit of an attempt to try and use Super 2000 to replace it, which was never going to work because they were basically WRC cars in terms of transmission and things, just with 2-litre engines. And then, you know, we had some various other attempts, haven't we, over the years? I think, you know, maybe you could argue that those R4/Rally 2 kit cars that I mentioned in terms of the Sandero maybe tried to fill that void a little bit with reducing costs. And obviously we've had the Rally 3 cars more recently, cost capped at €100,000, again touted as a replacement for the old Group N thing. Don't seem to be ever so popular in the same way that Evos and Imprezas were, so it sort of feels like we've never really had that solid replacement. And it's a shame, isn't it, because if you think about cars like the Golf R, they were super popular, same size category as an Impreza or an Evo, 2-litre turbo, 4-wheel drive. It would have slotted right in, wouldn't it? And I think it would have been a really nice way to keep that category going. And I think it would have fitted quite well alongside the Volkswagen WRC program with the Polo. You know, they would have had a bit of a range of cars to offer. And maybe, just maybe, it would have encouraged some other people to join the category. You know, there were a lot of 2-litre turbo 4-wheel drive cars popping up at that time. The Mercedes A45 AMG, Focus RS, although that was a 2.3-litre, Audi S3, things like that. You know, we could have seen a revitalisation of the Group N concept, and I think that would have been really, really beneficial for the sport and would have offered people a relatable, relatively affordable 4-wheel drive car. Alas, it never happened. That was that. Group N died, and we still miss it today. Anyway, those are my 3 choices. As I said, sorry, this is a little bit of a brief one. I will explain why in the next couple of videos. But let me know in the comments below what you think. Are they your choices, or is there any that you think I have missed? What is one rally car you would have liked to have seen, either from a manufacturer or, like my R3 Maxi Sandero, something that you would bolt together in your shed? Let me know. While you're there, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons, of course. And all that remains for me to say is thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next time.